Today's video is on a subject that I wasn't particularly confident in when I started, and that topic is photographing mushrooms. But as I record this voiceover and edit the video, I can see that I was worrying about nothing, and by applying what I already knew about macro photography, I just needed to apply those skills to photographing mushrooms. But I did encounter a few challenges that I had to overcome. If anything, this should be considerably easier than trying to capture moving subjects. I am of course referring to my dragonflies video if you haven't seen it. I deliberately choose to make videos about subjects that I want to get better at. And even by the end of this video I was feeling more confident in my technique and of course the results. Behind the scenes last year and this year I've been shooting with Stuart Redding Brown, Simon David, Jamie Fielding and of course Louise Welcome, and they've all helped me to get to grips with this new genre, so thank you to all of you. Enough backstory, let's get on with the video. Well, hello and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be doing some macro photography and today's subject of choice is mushrooms. Now today I've come out to a place called Stanmer Park or Stanmer Woods, which is just behind me here, which is just on the outside of Brighton. And even though absolutely clear skies above me and the sun's going to come up in about 15 minutes, the woods is looking particularly dark, so hopefully I can make this work. Now this isn't going to be a tutorial on mushroom photography, and the reason being is if you've been watching this channel for a while, or if you go to my website, you'll see lots of macro photographs, but you won't see any mushroom photographs. And there's a reason for that. I would say I've captured lots of photographs in the past of mushrooms and fungi, however, none of them have met my criteria for that's good enough, that can go in the portfolio. So what this video is me going out trying to up my game regarding mushroom photography and taking you along on the journey. I've got a bit of a head start because I did actually come here yesterday with my 3 girls, or my mushroom hunters as I like to call them, and they are very good at finding them. My 3 girls found so many mushrooms, it was unbelievable. And I'll tell you a funny story. About 100 meters behind us as we were walking through the woods, there was, what's the collective word for mushroom hunters? A gaggle. There was a gaggle of mushroom hunters with their baskets and everything, so we kind of kept it a bit of a secret because before they turned up, my girls were saying, "Dad, you're not going to believe this. I found a big red mushroom with white spots all over it." So that's what happened yesterday. I'm a bit nervous because the mushroom pickers did have a lot of mushrooms in their basket. So let's see if any of them are left. Now the plan for today, which is different to what I did yesterday, because yesterday was a recce, I was shooting handheld, so no tripod. When I say my macro flash setup that I was using yesterday, this is it. So I've got my Sony A7iv III, but you can substitute that for any mirrorless camera. I've then got a 100mm macro lens. Again, it doesn't have to be 100. I prefer this setup with the 100 though, because as you can see, the flash kind of loops over the end of the lens. If your lens is too small, this setup doesn't quite work as well, I don't think. You'll see that I've got a Canon flash sitting on the top of my Sony. It does actually work. The key to this setup though is the diffuser. Now this isn't sponsored or a review of this at all. I bought this with my own money, and I believe that this is actually created by a photographer that thought, well, there's a gap in the market, I'm going to make something myself, and now he sells them to other photographers. So I'll find the link to when I bought this and I'll put that in the description below. If I am shooting macro photography with an on-camera flash, this is my setup. All right, back to the video. Today, different gear setup. Oh, and if you hadn't noticed, today's video is filmed in anamorphic, hence the futuristic sun flares. I just can't help myself. Good news, I found yesterday's pristine red mushroom, and I'm not going to pretend to know anything about mushroom species, so don't ask me if this is edible or not. I have no idea, but I haven't been touching them, and I definitely haven't been eating them. I'm just looking for photogenic subjects. But throughout this video, hopefully I will give you some tips and tricks on how to get the most out of photographing these things. Now, by filming this video in anamorphic, I have created myself a bit of a problem. Notoriously, anamorphic lenses like this have a silly minimum focusing distance, and this is 1.2 meters. So in order to show you what this looks like close up in anamorphic, I've had to bring some diopters. If you've never heard of those, I think you might be interested. This is macro related. This is kind of the cheapest, most cost-effective way of getting into macro photography. I tell you what, I'll show you what this mushroom looks like at this lens's minimum focusing distance, and then I'll show you what it looks like properly close up. Okay, there you go. That is the closest focusing distance of that anamorphic lens without a diopter close-up filter. There you go, look at that. That's not even as close as it will go. What a difference. Now, I am rushing around a little bit because there's actually some quite nice light on this mushroom at the moment. One of the things you'll notice, if you've got a tripod that has the ability to remove the center column, then I would do that. That will allow you to get your tripod nice and low. There are two things I want to do today that I haven't done with mushroom photography. First of all, I'm going to do some focus stacking, and I made a completely separate video about that, so I'll link to that at the end of this video. But in summary, when you do macro photography, if you get really close to your subject or your subject is very small, then essentially you just get a slither of your subject in focus. And one of the ways around this is to do focus stacking, where you focus at various parts in your frame and then you stack them in software afterwards. So I'm going to do that. And then the second thing I'm going to do is use artificial light. And the reason being is it's generally quite dark in woodland, and if you're trying to make a feature of the gills, the underside of the mushroom, the light doesn't get there. So you kind of need to bounce some light into the underside of the mushroom or bring some artificial light. So that's what I'm going to be experimenting with today, and hopefully I get some results. Focus stacking, where are you? Focus bracketing enabled. Let's do 50, see what happens. Well, it certainly takes a lot longer when you've got a slower shutter speed, but it works. It's amazing how quickly you can fill up a memory card when you're doing focus stacking. That is looking like a super, super sweet focus stack. Ah, amazing. Super happy with that. Oh, and then the sunlight's kicking in a bit. Oh no, no, the sun's on it. Okay, let's do that. I've got to get in the way of the sun now. Now that that is in direct sunlight, I think I might just change my settings and see if that works as a nice composition. I think it does, you know. Much faster shutter speed now, because it's in direct sunlight, 1/50th of a second. Do you know what? I quite like that. I think it needs a little bit of something on this side. Right, what I've got is an off-camera light with a miniature tripod. Right, now here's the plan. I'm photographing it from this side, and then this side is just a bit too contrasty when I'm photographing it. So what I intend on doing, not removing shadows, but just lifting them a little bit. So I'm going to try that and see how that works out. I said this was quite relaxing because I've got my lighting, so I'm not really chasing the light. I've brought the light with me. I am trying to leave the scene alone as much as possible, but sometimes there are just distracting elements. So I would say I'm cleaning up the area, but I'm not doing anything too dramatic. So I'm pretty happy with the images I'm getting so far, actually. If you're going to take some things away from this, first of all, make sure that you've got a tripod or the ability to get your camera nice and low, because most of the time the mushrooms are either on the ground, or if you're lucky, they're on a log or a tree trunk that's fallen over. Make sure you're reviewing the images on the back of the camera and just tidy up anything that might be remotely distracting. Okay, next up, let's find a mushroom which has got some interesting gills to the underside of it, and we'll get a light under there and capture some interest. Right, now, even though I have bought a tripod which has no center column and the legs go absolutely flat, the problem with that still is that I'm photographing a mushroom which is about this high, and the tripod head and the bracket and the camera are still significantly higher than the mushroom. So let me show you what I've done. It's not for everybody. It's a bit fiddly, and depending on your tripod, you may not have the ability to do this, but let me show you what's going on. Right, so this is my subject here, and I'll put my hand next to it so you can see how big or small the mushroom is. Beautiful specimen. The action is happening to the underside of the mushroom. This is where all the action is, and this is what I want to photograph. You need some light under there. So I have actually inverted my camera. I've taken the ball head, mounted it upside down, and then I've got the bracket for my macro lens. And the awkward thing about this is that you then have to use your camera upside down. So the shutter button is over there, the on switch is there, menu button is there, and the menus will actually be upside down depending on which way you flip your screen. And this is assuming that you've got a camera with a flip out screen in the first place. So this is not easy to do, but assuming you've got a camera with some sort of movable screen, this is probably going to be the solution for you. But the idea of this is just to get your camera down as low as possible, find a nice composition, nice clean background. As you can see, when you bring the camera down here, what a beautiful subject. Look at this. All right, here are the photographs of this little mushroom. Okay, well, I am all done here. Thank you for watching, and what I'll do now is I'll share with you some of my favourite mushroom macro photographs that I've taken yesterday, today, and anything in the future before editing and publishing this video. And if you enjoy macro photography videos, then check out the focus stacking video that I'll link at the end of this video. Okay, thanks for watching and enjoy the images.